I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. This precious human life, rarely encountered, is easily lost. Now that I have life and opportunity, may I practice the Dharma wholeheartedly.
Mahayana refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way.
Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers.
For the lineage of teachers before them, I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, may their vows be completely realized, and may I cultivate these perfections with their guidance.
7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind.
I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings.
Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred.
Being close to some and distant from others, how wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from suffering and the causes of suffering. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this.
Please stand for the show signing of each Chaudhary. We'll do the slow version. It's on page 6. In the realms of light and dark, convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the six worlds, and we dedicate it in grateful thanks to the strength and sound practice of the Great Heart Sangha and its teachers. May our virtuous actions be clear from all interferences, and may our vows be fully realized. We especially dedicate these merits to our original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. May the merits of our practice awaken all sentient beings, and to the teaching and practice of great ancestor Harda Daiya Sogaku Roshi. May their mind flower bloom in endless spring for the attainment of Buddhahood for all beings throughout space and time. And for Karen and Jerry, Aiden and family, Matt and Yo, Koshin, the Simon family, Emily, Sister Suzette, Roger, Evan, Amy, Andrea, Marge, Carly's mom, Emily's family, the Stone family, Becky, Sarah, Soke, and the Wagner family. May they have peace and healing. And for Maggie, Jeanette, Mark, Emily, and George at the time of their death. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. Please prepare yourselves in. will now recite the Sunday covenant.
We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder and the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others.
Please be seated for today's talk. We sing the teacher.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Please arrange yourselves so we can easily see each other. There's seats up at the front if you want. Today we celebrate what's called Bodhi Day. This is an acknowledgement of the awakening experience of the Buddha. And there's a kind of an interesting preface to this. If you poke around Buddhist scholarship or scholars who study Buddhism, more appropriately put, there's some folks who will make a case that the Buddha didn't actually exist as an individual person. It's more a story crafted around a movement that took hold somehow. not many, that's not the majority view, but it is the minority report. And you know what? If they were to come out and prove scientifically and factually, uncontrovertibly, that the Buddha never existed, it wouldn't change the depth of my experience in the least. Neither would it change the wisdom of the tradition. Sort of in the same way that if Shakespeare was determined determinatively to have been a committee, the sonnets hold, the plays still hold sway. Okay? Personally, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was around, but what do I know? Well, I know my experience. I know my consciousness up to now. And I know that my consciousness up to now has been deeply informed by the depths of wisdom and compassion that have been gifted to us, to me, to us all, through centuries, thousands of years. So the way the story goes, there are many tellings, but they have certain themes that always ring out. The first is the Buddha is said to have been born in great wealth, royalty, in fact, prince, heir to all things. And thus it is foretold, it's the way it often is, you know, these important people, they can't just have a normal birth, it's got to be miraculous somehow. And so too in the Buddha's birth and the telling of it anyway, this embellishment or this highlighting, depending how you read it. But be it as it may, the way the story goes, there were signs and portends, and there were some unusual, anomalous things going on, and also normal run-of-the-day business. The king wants to have the wise ones come and divine from the stars and the earth and whatever else you could find what's up with this kid that's about to be born. And so it goes. And so the wise men come from the west bearing gifts. Oh, wait, wrong story. The diviners and the seers are summoned, and they read the sky and the earth and the signs and whatever they do. And they say, well, you're either in luck or in a lot of trouble. Turns out, mighty king, that your child is going to be deeply powerful and of great capacity, in fact, perhaps singular capacity. And the emperor said, well, that sounds good. And they're like, well, but wait, there's more. There's a choice here. Either this young one will end up being the heir to your throne and will expand your empire and will conquer lands and territory, wealth beyond count, subjugating peoples unknown, vast will be his empire. And the king's like, oh, that sounds great. That's definitely what the king was hoping for, you know, yes. And, well, there was a minority report. Well, not all of us agree, dear king. The elder and the wiser said, yeah, there's a different path that could happen here. What's that? Well, your son may decide to become a sannyasi and a wandering mendicant and a spiritual teacher that will save countless beings from suffering throughout space and time and alleviate suffering for all humanity and be a great spiritual teacher with vows of poverty. The king was like, not on my watch. So this made an impression. The Buddha was born. And then, you know, fast forwarding a little bit to young adulthood, found himself with an arranged marriage and wealth, but his entire childhood was kind of quarantined, boy in a bubble, so to say. Not allowed to see or hear or smell or taste anything distasteful, anything that might perturb or set in motion any kind of inquiry into suffering. But of course, it fails. And the version of the story I like most is that he heard some guitar player on the other side of the temple wall. He's like, wow, what's that? That's a sweet jam. What's that tune? It was in a key strange to his ear. Perhaps it was an actual blues, but perhaps not. And anyway, he encountered something that made him want very much to venture beyond the confines of his pleasure palace, so to say. And so with the help of his attendant, he did. And upon going out into the village, he encountered the things that we recite even today. Old age. You know, he's with his attendant. They're kind of hidden, going out amongst the people, you know, cloaked, daggerless, but nonetheless, out they go. And he sees an old person, and he says, "Bro, what's that?" That is old age. It happens to everyone. Will it happen to me? Oh, yes, sire, you will age. You have been since you were born. The first arrow. Sickness. A person was ill, some visible way, perhaps conjure a leper or something. What's that? That, my liege, is ill health. Does that happen to everyone? Yeah. Different kinds, but yeah. Will it happen to me? Oh, yeah. And then second arrow. And then the biggie, they came upon the charnel grounds. A corpse being burned. What's that? That, young master, said Hartha, is death. Does it happen to everyone? Yes, it does. Will it happen to me? Oh, yeah. The third arrow. With this, his world was upside down. He had seen through the matrix, seen past the shadows of Plato's cave. He had seen past the attempts to hide. There's something else here. I'm not seeing things clearly. And with that, he took his leave. Now notice, if you will, that the story, the way it's unfolding, is a kind of a template. I don't think were any of us here born into royalty, chained to a pleasure palace? No, not me. But nonetheless, a youth with pleasantries, hopefully, and nice things. And then you gradually start to encounter not so nice things. Anybody relate to that one? You know, that's okay. And rather than just double down, I need more pleasure and more beer and a bigger harem and more money or whatever. That's not the thing. Because you see, there was another person, there was another pivotal sight that the Buddha saw when he was out. Old age, sickness, death. But he also saw a mendicant, a sannyasi, a holy man, so to say. What's that? Oh, that is a spiritual practitioner. Does that happen to everyone? No. Will it happen to me? Probably not. Wrong caste. You're a leader. Well, what does he do? Oh, he seeks for truth. Well, time to go home. You can see why some scholars would say, this sounds like a little too perfect a setup here. I mean, come on, you know. But there it is. That's the pattern. So with this, the seeds were planted, and he watered them. And the way the tradition would speak of it, his past life experience began to emerge. He began to remember or recall or re-encounter things. In fact, the way the tradition speaks of it, he had spent many, many countless lifetimes cultivating virtue and compassion and seeking wisdom. But each time it's buried with the new birth. And so The veils began to uncover. He began to smell the ancient incense for the first time, and it was deeply familiar to him. Many of us here have versions of that experience as well, I know. So he set forth, cut his hair, eschewed his emblems of royalty, his status, his caste, and sought perfection, sought freedom, sought insight. Now, in that day, as today, there were many, many different spiritual teachers and many different spiritual traditions. And so as he went around, we actually have the names of some of the teachers that he is said to have connected with. The first taught the first few stages of the jhana practice, jhana being states of deep mental concentration. And the teaching there is that if you concentrate the mind correctly, the troubles of the day will unwind from you and you can have a pleasant, relaxing experience. And this is much better. And so the Buddha did this practice. He attained pretty highly developed jhana states, but still a little film of pleasant pleasure, of relief, let us say. You know, when your mind is really agitated and everything is really just, the light show is flickering too much and it's too bright, and you can finally take the seat of practice and actually find some modicum of stability and relaxation and presence, it actually is a great relief, right? You actually don't have to sit there and respond to everything right now. It's okay to take a moment to settle in, and we need to go through these stages. In fact, if more of humanity got that far, our society would be far better off. It's not a bad thing. But the Buddha then, Siddhartha, said, this is pleasant and this is better, but this isn't the final answer to anything. And so he took his leave and pressed on. The next teacher, the next community that he went to is said to have been kind of an interesting one. There was a founder and son, and the founder had seen further into the samadhi states, into what's called the formless samadhis, the state of no state, formlessness, emptiness, some say. And that he began to teach this as a further depth of jhana states, letting go even of the relief and pleasure of the earlier stages. And these, by the way, are not theoretical. You can experience these yourself. This is part of what the training does. And so, unfortunately, the dude passed away, and his son was leading the community, and no one in the community, nor the son, had ever actually experienced the formless states. But he had Dad's instruction guide, and so he would read the instructions, and they would all try. But they were hoping and hoping for someone to come and lead their community, someone who could actually fulfill the instruction. And when they found such a person, the descendant was very keen to hand the lineage on and allow that person to guide the community. So they were kind of waiting, and then in walks Sid. Om bum, boom, boom, bum, boom, boom, bum. It's in walked Bud. Do-do-do-do, ba, bo-dum, ba. Except it's Siddhartha. In walks Sid. And what teaching happens in this place? We have preserved the directions for how to achieve the formless. Was this that pleasant jhana state? No, it's further than that. Well, who can describe it to me? Well, no one. But here's the instructions, and we know they work. Try? Say, okay. Nailed it. Dropped right into the formless realms. Of course, the community was ecstatic. They figured this was the great answer they'd waited for. And they offered him the high seat of that community, such as it was. But internally, he said, this formless thing is lovely, but it's not enough. And you hear this in beginning instruction every time. You can, if you go into a pleasant distraction or you go into a blank trance state, there may be some temporary relief from the agitations of mind, but don't be fooled. There is no wisdom nor compassion that is cultivated in that practice. There's simply an escape. And the result is that once you've done that escape and you come back to the light show flickering at you, you just want to go and escape more. And so rather than realize freedom in life, you end up having a thinner skin and withdrawing from it. This will not do. And so to the great dismay of that community, the Buddha gave them their instructions and said they work, but it's not good enough anyway. And off he went. And he flirted with asceticism. That was the other thing that he hadn't tried. There was a group of folks that, the kind of punish the body to free the spirit kind of idea, great austerities and so on. And of course he was keen, and young, and dare I say somewhat foolish, so he went at it full on and almost killed himself with his aesthetic prowess. And here the actual story, kind of clicks in. He's like, this is just stupid. I'm just gonna, all this is gonna do is end up with me being dead of starvation. And with the ascetics and yasis, that would be the greatest victory you could do. And he's like, that I don't think is good, guys. I think that's not really enough. That's not quite the freedom I had in mind. Something else. And so he took their disdain upon himself and bid his leave and said, this is not right. A woman came by with rice pudding, rice gruel, and he reached out and she could tell, usually you would kind of stay away from these ascetics, but she could see he was trying to communicate, and so she looked at him. He beckoned her and asked for food. She's like, sure. And she started giving him the rice pudding, and it was sweet and it was good, and there were no raisins. Insider pro tip, Doan Roshi hates raisins, so. Anyway, for your birthday tomorrow, a big thing of raisins. Or not. Anyway, he took the nourishment and began to actually take care of his body. Not indulge it, but care for it. And then he said, I have got to solve this. This is what is going on. He found that there was no teacher alive at that time that he could find that had any real durable answer. And so he sat down under a tree, the Bodhi tree, as called, and he began to recall an experience he had in his youth where he also sat under a tree and just merged with the moment so fully. He was present. He didn't go into a trance state. He wasn't in some esoteric, pleasurable moment or something. He was just fully there. And yet, there was a depth and a quality and a miraculousness, so to say. And that memory came to his mind. And he said, I think I'm going to explore that. Now, many people that come to the temple community have had some natural experience where without formal robes and incense and stuff, you just kind of sink into reality for a moment or two. Some it has to do with nature, the beach, the forest, the hills, the mountains, the valleys, whatever. For some it can be music or pleasure of one kind or the next, or a beautiful landscape, whatever. But seeing your kid's eyes for the first time, that's it. That'll do it. Depending on what state you're in. Anyway, he remembered this naturally occurring thing and said, I'm going to lean into that one. And he did. And then he began to actually practice presence. Again, you get this in beginning instruction. Be present to the moment, using, in our case, the device of the breath as an anchor to begin the process. Now, as the evening began to fall, there's a guitar story I missed. He heard a guitar player, teacher, going by a boat, and he said, if you tune the string too tight, it'll snap, and if it's too loose, you won't get a sound. You have to have just the right amount of tension, and then you can play. And that is what precipitated the Buddha saying, I'm being silly. Too much tension, I'm going to snap. Nice. So anyway, he sat through the night, and he went from concentration stages, formlessness, and then he just, no, this isn't what I'm doing. I remember that thing as a kid. And he just stayed with what was so. And something very different began to unlock. Very different. Now again, the way the tale is spun, there then are the great confrontation of the spiritual warrior. So the first barrier that he felt, it is said that Maya, the sort of deity figure of delusion, so to say, as soon as the Buddha began to actually sit zazen, as we would call it, Mara went, what? And was like, this is a threat. None of the other stuff is a threat at all. It doesn't matter. Do whatever. But as soon as the Buddha began to actually sit correctly, so to speak, Mara noticed and said, all right, I can't be having this. So Mara sent his beautiful daughters to try to seduce and entice. And Buddha wouldn't have it. That's greed. I want. You can fill in your own, whatever it is for you. But can we tempt him with more desire? He's like, no, that's not going to do it. Been there, thanks. Then the next one, anger. Let's see if we can get him angry. So an angry horde of orcs arose from the earth and began lumbering with their balrogs and their flaming arrows. It's exactly what it says in the sutras. And they were fearsome and they were angry and they were trying to provoke a battle with a lot of chest beating and testosterone and, bro, we're going to get you, all that stuff. And he wouldn't play. He's not doing it. So they launched their big fiery arrows and he just turned them to flowers. And they went away. Greed, anger, hatred. I want, I'm not. Those are the two. The root of both of those had yet to be confronted. These are so-called the three poisons. Now, those two can't happen in the same moment of mind. They can rapidly flick back and forth, but at any instant of mind, so the traditions teaches, and my experience is the same, you are either trying to bring in or push out. But there's a root to those two, which is I. I want or I'm not. I desire or I'm disgusted. But there's an I in the center. And the way the light show works is it keeps you vacillating between running towards and running away from so fast, so much, so crazily, you never have a chance to stop and notice who is it that's running, that's chasing. That is a different business altogether. And so with the delights and the torments set aside, the Buddha sat under the tree in perfect stillness. In front of him lay a pool, and in the pool was his own reflection. And that reflection, then Mara inhabited that reflection and took its form and rose up out of the pool. He confronted himself in the story. Quite telling. And this time, his own reflection said, "Why are you doing this to me? Why? Are you trying to kill us?" The Buddha said, "I see through you. Be gone." And it faded. But it wasn't done yet. Those barriers being seen, the awakening had not yet occurred. And these are all, set up at different watches of the night and stuff, so it's symmetrical and stuff. The last thing that needed to happen was that awakening. And so it is said that the Buddha looked up and saw the North Star, I think, which is Venus, right? Has anybody got that right? Yeah. Saw Venus, beautiful star in the night. And at once, his perception, think of what you can recall of the Lankavatara Sutra's teachings. He saw that star not with just his physical eye, but he saw it with his Dharma eye. His Dharma eye perceived that star, and he perceived it in a way that he had never perceived anything before. He saw that himself and that star were not two, were not separate. In fact, he looked around and saw that all things were the same. He wasn't separate from that tree, or from the ground he was sitting on, or his ascetic bros, or the formless meditation folks, or the pleasure people, or the palace guards, or anything. Neither, by the way, the sick, or the dying, or the elderly. Not separate. And with this, awakening had occurred. He rose from his seat under the Bodhi tree and said, "I alone am the world-honored one." Now, don't hear that statement from a narcissistic point of view. What he's saying is, I am the world and the cosmos is me. We're all one, and it is honored and honorable. Interesting that in this tradition, that experience, it will do you almost no good to believe in it. Factual, mythical, map, or reality, it doesn't help you to just believe that that's possible for someone else. It's kind of a roadmap that practitioners go through routinely here. And that awakening, that realization that the Buddha had when he saw the star is accessible to you. You don't have to be some other kind of person for that to happen. You don't have to become someone else. You simply have to realize the inherent perfection of what you already are. The Buddha sat down again and laughed, which is often a common response to awakening moments. And he just looked at all the suffering beings and said, I don't know what I can do for these folks, how I can help them. It's like trying to teach a fish about water. But then Brahma, the sort of pinnacle deity of the time in the pantheon of the day, as the story is told, came down and bended knee asked the Buddha to teach. And this is an essential component. One essential component is that Buddha had a prediction of awakening by a currently awakened Buddha many, 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 many lifetimes earlier. One day you will become a Buddha. This prediction was formally made to him. And then many, 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 many lifetimes later came to fruition. And once that happens, a Buddha will not teach unless asked. And so Brahma came down and asked Buddha, would you please teach to alleviate the suffering of all beings? And so he agreed, and thus began teaching the Buddha Dharma. he went back to those ascetic fellows and gave them a clue, and helped them out. They became the initial, and then it grew and grew and grew. So rather than this be the tale of some far-off person from a distant land, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, this is intimate. This is imminent. This is your story. This is my story. The details shift. The culture shifts, but that trajectory, no different at all. And so we honor the Buddha's awakening. We honor your awakening. We honor the awakening of the ancestors. So for the sake of all beings throughout space and time, may awakening happen, that all beings may be free from suffering. May it be so.